So without any further ado, let's begin with the first speaker. Now the first speaker is Vijay Srinivas, the CEO of Indag Rubber, one of the leading manufacturers of tread rubber in India. And his subject is one which is very close to everything that we're talking about this week. His subject is retreading, a sustainable alternative to new tyres. So I'd like to welcome Vijay to the stage, please. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. My name is Vijay Srinivas. When I left New Delhi day before yesterday, the temperature there was 42.9 degrees C. Right? It was unprecedented. It was never recorded that kind of a temperature in India, actually. So the sustainability, global warming, and circular economy is absolutely the right topic, and I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so glad a conversation on circular economy is happening here today. Right? Let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Vijay Srinivas. I represent a company called Indag Rubber Limited. We are an Indian company. We have been around since 1978, when sustainability and circular economy and sustainable development was not in the lexicon of many corporates, actually. We are very passionate about sustainability, and which is why we started off this company in 1978. When we started this company in 78, we were a joint venture with Bandag. Bandag was arguably the most sophisticated, the most cutting-edge retreading technology in the world. In 2006, when Bandag was bought by Bridgestone, so we purchased our own our stocks, and we are a publicly listed company in India since 1984. In our ecosystem, we retread about 100,000 tires every month. That's Indag, and that's the company that I represent. Well, in our presence, our products, our complete ecosystem, what we provide is what you see here. We supply pre-cured tread rubbers, unvulcanized rubber strip gum, universal spray cement, envelopes, and all the allied materials. And if you want to set up a new retreading unit, we can give the complete blueprint, and also we can give a complete equipments. The full turnkey support. We have the capability of doing that, and we have been doing this since 1978. Well, driving to net zero, the whole world, we are talking about that. The race to net zero, right? USA has committed that it will achieve net zero by 2050, Europe by 2050. And India is a developing economy. We're a little behind the curve, and we are trying our best to catch up. We have committed ourselves to catch up by 2070. So as I said right in the beginning of my speech, extreme weather conditions, rising sea levels, disrupted ecosystems, all of this is becoming a reality now. And I do believe sustainability and sustainable development is an absolute path forward. Now, all the automotive companies globally, or most of the big tire companies globally, have made public commitments on sustainability. You can see some of them here. And I'm sure, if you Google, you will find most of the players have made their commitments very public. It's there in the public domain. And most of them are measuring Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3 emissions. So when we talk about most of these people are measuring them, and everybody would like to reduce the carbon footprint and become neutral. Now, what's the role of retreading here? Why am I showing this? If you want to promote circular economy, there are 3 pillars of circular economy, which is reduce, reuse, recycle. Retreading is right at the heart of reuse. So that's what it comes as a part of Scope 3. If any company, regardless of which business they are in, if they want to bring down their footprint, then retreading is a very viable and option to do that. For those of you who are not very familiar with retreading, retreading is a very scientific way of reconstructing a tire, a casing. So it makes a lot of economic sense to retread because you save about 70% of your cost per kilometer, right? In the logistics industry and for a fleet owner and operator, you'll find fossil fuel prices are going up. There is no rescue from fossil fuel prices, right? Tire is the largest spend after fuel for a fleet owner and operator and a logistics provider. So it makes a lot of economic sense to consider retreading. And on the bottom right side, you find why it makes economic sense, environmental sense to do retreading, right? Every tire retreaded saves about 57 liters of oil. And it also saves about 44 kg of rubber, natural rubber and synthetic rubber put together. And of course, it helps bring down the landfills. Every retreaded tire saves 136 kg of CO2 emission. I think that's how powerful it is, and how in a meaningful way we can contribute to sustainable development. Actually, these studies are done by JATMA. The studies are done by some of the institutes in UK, European, and university in Mexico. There are plenty of studies available on this, but I've just picked up the data from these three. Like you can see the footprint, how it comes down. Every new tire takes about 184 kg of CO2. And when you do retreading of every tire, you save about 136 kg of CO2 for every tire that is retreaded. So I'm sure it's a scientific process, and most of the aircraft tires, about 90% of the aircraft tires are retreaded. So it is as safe as that. And if you see the circularity and value addition, I put a chart there, and this chart I picked it up from Frost and Sullivan study here. I would like to credit them for the study that they have done. In terms of value creation and circular economy, you find retreading is right at top. It's a clear winner when you want to accelerate towards net zero. I think reuse is a very powerful accelerator when you want to achieve net zero, and retreading is right on top. Although you will find a host of other things like reclaimed rubber, devulcanized rubber, recovered carbon black, plenty of options are available, but retreading is right on top there. So in Indag, we retread about 100,000 in our ecosystem. We retread about 100,000 tires every month. So we save that's about 1.2 million tires, and we contribute directly to about 160K of CO2 emissions. If I use the value, the carbon credit system available in European Union, India is not very evolved yet when it comes to that. That works out about 15 million plus euros actually. Yeah, once again, how retreading just in India. I've just picked up Indian market. About 10 million tires are retreaded in India. About 10 to 12 million tires are retreaded in India. About 16 million tires are retreaded in the United States. So you can see roughly the kind of impact that retreading can create to the environment. I wanted to end my speech with a little one fleet owner whom we worked with in India. It's a big company, it's a listed company. We saved about 2,000 plus metric tons of CO2 emissions, just helping them retread, educating them with the right practices of inflation, so on and so forth. So I wanted to end my speech here with a real life story, and we work with many, many fleet owners and operators in India. That brings an end to my speech, and I'm open for any questions. I would like to conclude once again by saying, I think retreading is a very powerful reuse, and it's a very powerful contributor in saving the environment. And every retreaded tire makes the environment smile. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any questions amongst the audience for Vijay? Okay, Daniel.
Hello, thank you for your speech. My question is about, you can give a word about legislation, of APR legislation in India, the latest development, and how retreading is inside of this new APR legislation in India. How retreading can, let's say, improve or grow further based on this potential advantage generated by the legislation?
Thank you very much. I think it's a wonderful question. In our march towards sustainable development and net zero, India has come up with extended producer responsibility. There are several ways of doing this. Market, you can make the consumer pay. And in India has picked up the legislation of EPR, extended producer responsibility, where the producer actually pays and be responsible for the circularity. That's the path that India has chosen. In India, it started off with single-use plastic, was the first one to come under EPR legislation. And the second one was electronic waste, and now tires. Starting from 2023, this legislation is coming into effect in India. And initially, Indian government is working very closely with the tire manufacturers, and tire manufacturers have taken a lead in supporting this whole cause. The ATMA, Automotive Tire Manufacturer Association in India, which represents the tire manufacturers, have taken a very active lead. It's a very simple system. The way it works is that a producer has the responsibility to ensure circularity. So they get the circularity or recycling certificates for all the production that they do. In year one, they are responsible for producing 35% of whatever production that they are doing. They have to get the certificates from the recycling. And in year two, it is 70%. And from year three onwards, which is next year onwards, 100% they are obligated to give recycling certificates. Now, the regulators and the policymakers do understand the role of retreading. So they have given retreading also a place in the extended producer responsibility regime. And the way it works for retreading is that if a manufacturer produces a retreading certificate, they get a moratorium for 1 year. After 1 year, their obligation starts for producing a recycling certificate. The simple assumption here is that a tire works for about a year and a half, depending on how much the vehicle runs. And then it comes for retreading. Once it is retreaded, it runs for a year after that. Retreading typically can give about 80% of a life at about 1/3 of a cost, or about 40% of the cost. So after 1 year, the assumption here is that it is, they'll have to, that the casing will have to go for, either it gets retreaded again, then again you get one more certificate, you get a moratorium for 1 more year again, and eventually when it goes for recycling, you have to give a recycling certificate. So that's how it works. I hope I answered your question. That was a great question though. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I've got a question as well, Vijay. So when you see the chart that you put up there, which showed 136 kilos of CO2 saved. Was it 57 kilos of
Oil.
what was it, of oil and,
Oil.
and 44 of
Rubber.
saved in it? It's a no-brainer, isn't it? That retreads are sustainable. So how is that message getting across in your market, in the Indian market, and what can we do to get that message across better to customers, to fleet managers, to tyre dealers and so forth, that retreads are sustainable?
If I understand your question rightly, David, you're saying, although the message is very plain and simple,
Yeah.
why is it not reaching the right audience?
Yeah.
Or how can it be accelerated?
Yeah.
That's the question,
Yeah.
if I understood your question rightly, right? So, I think different ecosystems reward very differently. In India, about 65% of the tires are retreaded. Whatever is sold in the replacement market, about 65 to 70% are retreaded. The numbers differ from country to country.
Yeah, of course.
Right? In the United States, it's probably better. In Japan, probably it's a little bit better. So it depends on two things: the regulatory environment and the economic value creation. Right? So if you look at the economic value creation side, it's a no-brainer. It makes a lot of economic sense. But different countries have a different evolution of the retreading industry. If you look at the United States, about 16 million tires are retreaded. 650 retreaders are doing that. It's a very consolidated industry. It's a very automated industry. So therefore the penetration is very good. Therefore the output, what comes out of a tire, and the life and the belief on the retreading system is extremely good there. In India, about 12 million tires are retreaded, but they are retreaded by more than 10,000 retreaders.
Yeah.
The industry is very, very fragmented, and they don't use, a lot of them don't use the right tools and tackles. This is where I believe a good regulation and support from the government and the ecosystem will help in formalizing the industry, in making sure that there is a standard and everybody follows the standard. So different countries, incentivize very differently, and it's a path. Every country has to follow a path. And in India, the good news is that a lot of consolidation is happening at the fleet owner level, at the retreader level, at the the retreading ecosystem. The faith on retreading is increasing. David, it's not very uncommon for a big organization to say that you can't bring in a retreaded tire into my premises when you come and pick up my finished goods.
Yeah.
So from that is one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum is companies like Amazon and most of the last mile delivery companies are publicly stating that we will promote sustainability. By all means, you got to use an electric vehicle for last mile delivery. They have made public, they have made commitments in the public domain. And therefore, they are the ones who I believe will be the first to understand, recognize the value of retreading and support retreading. So that's the other end of the spectrum. And the one end of the spectrum is people saying, oh no, you cannot bring retreaded tires. So this journey, different country, it evolves in a very different pace, if I may.
Yeah, very true. Okay, is there any more questions?
You mentioned that
It's not okay.
what should I do? Okay.
Oh yeah, I
Thank you.
got it.
Okay, great. You mentioned that the regulation would be necessary, at least in India. Would you have examples of specifically what should be regulated, for example, on top of what UNECE is already regulating in retreading, about retreading?
So, if I understand your question, you want some examples of regulation.
Examples of what would be necessary to regulate in order to standardize the quality of the tires.
Yeah, right. I think a lot of countries follow the DOT norms, right? For a new tire, they have extended it to the retreading tire as well. You know, the wet grip, the rolling resistance, the noise are labeled. So you will find that that's a good way of promoting and making sure that there are standards in the industry. In India, you have BIS, which is the equivalent of ISO and ASTM, and there are BIS norms for retreading, and what kind of processes should be followed, what kind of equipment should be there. So a simple regulation can really support many people following through that and having the right certifications, and therefore the complete faith on the system. And I showed you one customer here, one fleet owner and operator saving 2,000 metric tons of CO2, right? Supposing if there is a monetary benefit that this fleet owner and transporter can monetize the saving what he has done, that gives a big incentive to the end customer. So you have a pull from end customer as well to be economically responsible and more sensible. So I think different countries have different way of approaching regulation, and it's up to the policy makers to really understand the ecosystem of that region and follow something that works for them actually.
Okay. Okay, are there any more questions from the audience? No? Okay, well, if any more questions occur to you, or if you think you've missed some of Vijay's presentation, then you'll get another chance to listen to him tomorrow. So please come back tomorrow if you'd like to hear more. Okay, Vijay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity and attention.